We're going to come to order no matter what. Oops, this isn't my book. Or disorder. Oh, well. I understand that there are no public comments. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes? Second? Yes. Those in favor? Committee work plan. Before we address the committee work plan, I want to introduce everyone to Mike Garner, who, as you probably know, is the Chief Diversity Officer for the MTA. This is a new position, and you're going to see several changes in the future. One of the changes that you're going to see is in the work plan that we have to approve today. We're moving from having 6 meetings a month to having a minimum of 4, possibly 5 or 6 a year. A month. I've been here way too long today. Anyway, and the reason we're doing that is we're trying to consolidate the meetings so that we meet when we have a quarterly report to review. And that should make our meetings more efficient, and it should allow us to deal with issues more effectively. We're also going to see some changes in the department. Mike will be consolidating Office of Civil Rights, and that part of corporate compliance that deals with the DMWBE subcontracting and contracting that we have. So you're going to be seeing some changes over the year. I want to make that statement because what this may entail is that we have changes to the work plan. As you well know, normally we start out the year with a work plan, and it's that work plan for the year. We may be, we have to be flexible, and we may end up making changes to the work plan. But for the time being, if I could have a motion to approve the work plan as it presently exists in your book. Second? Those in favor? Aye. And if there are changes to the work plan, then we'll have to go through a reapproval process. Now, since many of you are new faces to Mr. Garner, I would like to take a little bit of time to go around the room so that you can introduce yourselves and he can start getting familiar with everyone. And we'll start with Ken, who, of course, he knows.
Good afternoon. It's Ken Neal.
Good afternoon, Naeem Dean.
Good afternoon, Lamont Kears.
Good afternoon, Mohammed.
Zenaida Shapay.
Carolyn Green.
Gwendolyn Harleston, MTA.
Ella Hernandez, MTA.
Greg Bradley, Metro North.
Joel Andrews, New York City Transit.
Shabu Jacob, Metro North.
Vanessa Moses, New York City Transit.
Michael Fife, Long Island Railroad.
Gail Chandler, Long Island Bus.
Thank you, everybody. In that case, we'll move on to the first item. We'll move on to the first item, which is a summary of our MTA agency-wide diversity outreach programs.
Yes, I asked Zenaida Shapay to give us an overview. Again, keep in mind, Zenaida, we don't have the overhead projector, so if you could point out the page number to the document, that'll be helpful.
Great. On page 2, I have a 6-month projection of the diversity programs, which is agency-wide, and in this past January, Metro North celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. Day,
Page 10.
and that's page 2.
It's, excuse me one second, Zenaida. It's page 10 of the workbook. It's page 2 of your presentation, but continue.
Ah, okay. And along with celebration on Martin Luther King, the MTA Office of Civil Rights contributed an article to the MTA HQ newsletter for the month of January. This February is African American History Month, and MTA headquarters, Bridges and Tunnels, and MTA Bus Company celebrates African American History Month. If you look at the other Metro North Railroad and Long Island Railroad, I believe that Metro North Railroad is going to bypass African American History Month celebration along with Long Island Railroad and celebrate it in March. In March 2009, MTA headquarters, Metro North Railroad, Long Island Railroad, and MTA Bus will celebrate Women's History Month. And MTA headquarters will celebrate Irish American Heritage Month along with Women's History Month at the same event. In May, the agencies plan on commemorating Holocaust Observance Month. That would be MTA headquarters, where Long Island Railroad and headquarters will celebrate Asian Pacific Heritage Month, and Bridges and Tunnels will celebrate Asian American Heritage Month down at 2 Broadway or Randall's Island. In June, MTA headquarters and Bridges and Tunnels will again celebrate together the Gay Lesbian Pride.
I had the pleasure of attending the MTA headquarters celebration Friday, just this past Friday, and I have to say that headquarters outdid themselves. It was a wonderful celebration and lots of fun. I encourage board members to go to as many as possible. The next,
And I have to say thank you for attending, and with the support of yourself and with the support of the executive staff, it really turned out to be a great event. These events would not be what they are if we didn't have your support, so thank you.
it was super fun. The young children singing just broke me up, but it was wonderful.
Thanks. And the food was great.
Oh, and the food. Forgot about the food. You should definitely come, Andrew.
I'm holding out for another dessert day. I think there should be 2 of those.
That's Andrew's favorite is International Dessert Day. Ken,
Ada, can you continue with the upcoming DMWB outreach program initiatives for the year?
Our projected DMWB outreach programs consist of, in February, this past couple of weeks ago, we partnered with New York State DOT at their Downstate Construction Industry Conference. It was their very first. We had quite a bit of participation, workshops involved, and our president from Capital Construction Company also joined in signing the MOA along with the other state agencies at that event. We traveled, some staff members traveled to Albany and participated at the Association of Minority Entrepreneurs for New York Annual Conference, at the Association of Black and Puerto Rican, Hispanic, and Legislative Caucus, and at that conference we also participated in workshops promoting DMWBE opportunities with COMTO, who sponsored an event. This following week, we have been invited to attend a procurement networking event with National Hispanic Business Group, along with other city and state agencies. And in March, we will start our MTA Preparing for Profit program, which starts on, I believe it's March 4th, if it's that first Saturday, and as you know, it runs for the 32-hour workshop every Saturday. We will also participate at the Regional Alliance for Small Contractors Clearinghouse, and we're in the process of organizing the first MTA OCR procurement session with New York City Transit, where we will highlight the demonstration on the Subcontractor Connection website. In April, we will be attending the Somos El Futuro 22nd Annual Legislative Conference, and we will also have an OCR certification session for interested firms. In May, we will again have a procurement session, and what we will do is combine Metro North Railroad and Long Island Railroad at this event, and we plan on participating at the Asian Women in Business Annual MWBE Annual Conference, where we also participate at a workshop. In June, we will exhibit at the USGSA Small Business Exhibition Fair. It usually has over 200 to 300 attendees at that fair. And we will participate at the Queens Annual Business and Procurement Expo. We will also plan to attend the New York, New Jersey Minority Purchasing Council Business Opportunity Expo, and the New York Power Authority Purchasing Exchange as an exhibit. We will also look into the annual New Jersey Small Business Development Center procurement expert. We will also exhibit, and that is our projected outreach for the next 6 months.
The subcontractor website that you mentioned, is that the one that City Transit has on their
Yes.
site?
Yes.
I've gone there a couple of times just to see how things work and how easy it is to use. It's worth doing, so perhaps I'll encourage the other committee members to give it a try and see if they have any comments, because I think that's a good step ahead to getting the word out.
That event is planned for March 30th,
Okay.
which is a Monday between the hours of 10 and 12
Where will that be?
at 2 Broadway on the 20th floor.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I also want to point out, Zenaida went over it rather quickly, the New York State DOT Downstate Construction Industry Conference. We actually signed a memorandum of agreement that allows MTA DBE certified firms to have expedited certification as an M&WB with the state. So it's a major, major accomplishment for the New York State UCP partners. So again, anyone who's certified as a DBE can have their certification expedited by New York State.
That's excellent. That should improve things quickly. And we should publicize that because it gives our contractors a nice advantage.
The next report, if there are no questions, is the certification activity report, and I'll ask Carolyn Green to go over that report.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay. It's on page 16, and what we have here is the certification activity that took place during the months of November and December of 2008. At the end of October, there were 15 applications pending review. During both November and December, we certified 6 firms, we denied 1, we returned 1 application, and 3 firms withdrew their application. The total number that we processed were 11, and we received 13 new applications during that period, bringing our application pending status as of December 31st, 2008 to 17 firms.
You said 1 was returned.
Yes.
And what was the reason for that? Do you recall?
I don't, but generally the reason that a firm's application is returned, yes, I do. I'm sorry, I do remember. In this particular instance, the firm had also applied to New York State DOT for certification, and because we are part of the Unified Certification Program, they can only have an application pending with one of the certifying partners, so we returned it.
We have a more detailed report, so we'll call Carolyn Green back at the appropriate time to discuss how we did for the calendar year 2008. At this time, I'd like to go over the year-end 2008 OCR activities, and I'll turn this over to Naeem Den.
Good afternoon again. If you turn your attention to page, I beg your pardon, we'll start with page 17. That's our year-end report for 2008. Page 18 is a disclaimer that talks about the report. Page 19 is talking about changing availability, comparing the year-end actual attainment to what was the availability at the end of 2008 for 2008, as well as comparing that with the availability and actual attainment for the year 2000, looking back to 2000. And as you can see, for minorities, we exceeded actual availability, as well as but not for female employees, but for African American employees we did, as well as for Hispanics, Asians, and for American Indian Alaskan Native, we met availability, as did for Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders, and for others we were slightly short. If you turn to page 20, that talks about how the demographics changed over the years from 2000 to 2008. And page 21 gives a summary of the MTA-wide EU activities, which states that as of December 31st, the total workforce was 71,046, which was slightly higher than December 31st, 2000. Minority representation is at 63%, as we stated before, on page 19. And all minority groups meet or exceed 80% of census availability, with the exception of others, which is below. Total female representation remains below 80% census availability at 17.3%. Page 22, continuing with the summary of MTA YDU activities. Of the total workforce, 10,542 employees are classified as official managers. That comes out at 15%. In the O&M category, minority representation is 50%, or slightly less than 50%, and that's certainly exceeding 80% of census availability. The total female representation is about 17%. On page 23, we talk about different agency demographics. For MTA headquarters, 1,532 employees, about 43% minority, about 32% female, and 38.4% minority, and 35% in the O&M officials and managers category. In the protective service category, there's about 35% employees, about 539. The Transit Authority had 50,230 employees, a little over 72% are minority, about 18% are female, and the minority and female O&M representation falls to 57% and about 15% respectively. About 66% of employees on the skill, craft, and service maintenance job categories. That's where you find most employees for the other agencies as well. On page 24, continuing with the MTA agencies, the Metro North has about 5,962 employees. The breakdown is 32% minority, 13% female, about 22% minority, and about 19% female O&M representation. And again, most of the employees are in the skill, craft, and service maintenance. The same holds true for Long Island Railroad, which has 6,811 employees, and the minority and female is 30% and 15.6%. Yes, sure.
I've asked this before, but I got a mental block now. If you're female and a minority, which of these two, are you represented in both of these?
Yes.
So your numbers would show up in each of those categories?
Yes.
Thank you.
Long Island Railroad has 6,811 employees, about 30.4% minority and about 16% female. Again, the minority and female breakdown for O&M representation is 21% and about 22% respectively, and again, most employees in the skill, craft, and service maintenance job categories. Moving on to page 25, which talks about Long Island Bus, 1,168 employees, about 69% minority, about 19% female. Again, the minority and female O&M breakdown is 33% and about 31%, and most of the employees, as you say, about 81% are in skill, craft, and service maintenance. The MTA bus had 3,436 employees, again, about 62% minority and about 12% female. Again, minority-female breakdown is 35 and 8% respectively, and well over 81% in the skill, craft, and service maintenance. That's consistent with the other agencies. For bridges and tunnels, on page 26, 1,770 employees, 50% minority, about 23% female, and the breakdown is 31 and 22. For minority and female, for the O&M respectively, about 43% in the protective service category. Capital construction has the smallest number of employees, about 137, but the minorities make up 56%. And the women, 29.2%. Again, the minority and female breakdown is 43 and about 19. On page 27, we have the representation of how many employees were hired for 2008, about 4,361. Of these employees, 19% are female and 66% are minority, again counting women as females and also minority women as minorities. 39% are African Americans, 16% are Hispanic, about 10% are Asian, and the rest are stated here. About half, 49%, were hired in the service maintenance job category, and over quarters, 26.5 were in the skill craft category. Page 28 talks about the Title VI complaints that were received by the MTA agencies and...
Name, can you wait just a minute?
Sure.
I'd like to point out for the committee members that the year-end results for '08 are a very similar picture to what you saw at the end of '07. And '07 was a good year for us in that we just squeaked over the 80% of available for Hispanic employees, and that number seems to be holding. Maybe it's a little higher this year by a feather than it was before, but it's holding, which is a good thing. And we still have the female issue. Thanks, Naeem.
I just wanted to say on page 28, we have the complaint numbers for Title VI complaints which are filed by our customers. Okay. Thank you.
Do we have a chart on gender complaints? They're not Title VI, but do we?
No, we don't have that for this committee, but we will be following up with that report, which will state external and internal EEO complaints, yes.
Okay.
And on page 29, Noor, can you give us an overview of our DMW participation program results?
Well, it shows here that as of the third quarter of '08, the participation is 7.5%, combined with the federal and the state dollars. In '05 it was 8.4, '06 was 7.8, and '07 was 6.6. As you can see, the first 3 quarters of '08, it went up to 7.5. The last quarter of the year, the numbers are still being put together, which we'll have for the next report.
Just a point of clarification, the 3-year total for calendar year 2005, 6, and 7 had the 7.5% participation rate. The January through September 2008, there was $170 million awarded to certified firms, which is only 6% of the total. Million, excuse me. Just want a point of clarification.
So we're still not hitting our targets.
We're not hitting our targets. We do better in construction and professional services. Again, commodities is an area that we're not doing well in at all. I'd like to ask Carolyn Green to, again, report on page 30, Carolyn.
Sure. Okay, page 30 addresses our activities for calendar year 2008. During the year, the certification unit processed 89 certification renewals, 153 annual submissions, 42 proposals to remove certification, 18 firms that actually had their certification removed. And from the pending file, those are new applications, we certified 39, we denied 5, 7 firms withdrew, 5 were returned, and 1 was deemed ineligible. And at the end of December, we had 17 applications pending review. One of the things I would like to bring to your attention is of the 5 firms that were denied and 1 that was deemed ineligible, 2 of them appealed to USDOT, and in both instances we were upheld our determination of denial and ineligibility. We received 60, this is not on here, but we received 60 new applications during the year, which is 5 more than we received during 2007.
Carolyn, do you have any further statistics on 2007 for comparison purposes?
So I can compare everything.
Thank you.
Okay. In the beginning of 2008, we had 12 applications pending review. That meant as of 12/31/07, there were 12 pending applications. At that same time in 2007, we had 50 applications pending review when we started the year. Although we did 89 certification renewals in 2008, we only did 74 in 2007. 153 annual submissions were processed in 2008. There were 186 annual submissions processed in 2007. Part of what we can say to account for that is some of our firms were removed, and additionally some of our firms were transferred to other certifying partners because it provided more opportunities for them. Specifically, they were transferred to the Port Authority. We had, in 2008, there were 42 proposals to remove certification, which was a lot less than we had in 2007 when we had 74. In 2008, as I said, we removed certification from 18 firms. In 2007, we removed it from 34 firms. We processed 94 pending applications in 2007 versus the 57 in 2008. But if the committee will recall, this is because we had backlogged firms at the beginning of 2008, which we no longer, at 2007, which we no longer have. So what's interesting is in 2008, of the 57 applications we processed, 68% were certified, 9% were denied, 12% were withdrawn, 9% returned, and 2% deemed ineligible. However, for 2007, even though we certified 50 firms, it only represented 53% of the applications that we processed. 9% were denied, 12% were withdrawn, 23% were returned, and 3% were ineligible. I guess what I would say for 2008 is we certified, the percentage of certifications were greater, and we were dealing with less returns and withdrawals.
We'll open up for questions. Are there any questions on the report? That concludes our report, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Kearse.
Thank you. Okay. If you turn to page 32, you'll see that the inventory as of the fourth quarter of 2008 was 841 contracts on which goals have been set. Page 33 gives you a breakdown by agency. Again, transit has the largest share of those contracts, as usual. Turn to page 34. The total number of subcontractors now sits at 2,998, which represents 921 individual subcontractors. Page 35. The original subcontract amount that we have currently, again, this is a running total, is $1.7 billion, and the current subcontract amount is $1.9 billion. If you turn to page 36, okay, the fourth quarter came out to 12.25%. On page 37, the total payments for the fourth quarter came in at $58 million. And total payments for 2008 were $170,441,805. Any questions?
So we still need to get more minority subcontracts going.
Right. There was a nice increase between the third and fourth quarter, as you can see.
Hopefully that'll hold.
I think so. I mean, we've we implemented some new procedures which I think are very good, and we've also engaged project management at the agencies more, and they're now involved. The integrity monitoring staff reaches out to them directly, makes them responsible as well for compliance with the terms and conditions of the contract, and I think you'll see that. And we also initiated a risk-based sampling approach as well, which I think is having some positive impacts as well.
That's good. Questions?
Yeah, one quick question. I think it's very heartening to see on page 36 the large percentage of minority contractors that are acting as prime rather than a sub. How does this compare to 2007 or prior years? Is it about the same? Is it going up? Is it going in the right direction?
I don't have that information, and we'd have to provide that for you, but
okay.
we can do that.
Yeah, because I think that's the total, including minorities.
That's a total.
Total including minorities. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't. This doesn't tell you what percentage of this is the minority subcontractor. That's an issue with the
1.9.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 1.9 is the dollars dedicated towards the minority subcontractors.
But
1.9 billion.
We're not aware of any minority firms that are acting as prime on any of our contracts?
Yes, we could provide that information for you.
That's what I'm interested in.
Yes.
I'm interested in seeing that trend line.
Right. Understood.
I'm less heartened.
So our next meeting is in April. Perhaps by April, we could have a summary of the minority prime contractors and the amount of dollars going to them. Because Doreen and I are familiar with a few of them, so I think that's why she's interested.
I just realized this was also in billions, so it would be
Yeah.
pretty hard pressed to say that $15 billion was given to minority contractors.
That would be
That would be
amazingly successful.
Yes.
There were some very large contracts approved today in transit, very large. It would be
Yes.
interesting to see what percentage of them are minority.
Yeah, I'm going to start asking that question.
And that's one where we could have minority contractors. Some of the contracts are difficult to have minority contractors on because it's one kind of piece of equipment that we're buying, and that's a tough thing to do. But the construction contracts are very good for that.
Well, I mean, my firm is a WBE. I know that when I subcontract, well, I'm capable of doing a lot more than the 10% that's been allotted to the contract. I'm held to that 10%. And if there's a way that firms are capable of doing more and we can give them more to meet our overall goals, I love to think that we could do that, but that's not going to be easy.
No. Any other comments or topics for discussion? In that case, did you have something, Joel? I see you look like you're going to talk to me.
A point of clarification on the submissions to the Office of Civil Rights on the updates on the EEO and Title VI programs. That will be the subject of presentations at the next meeting. When are we expected to get that to Civil Rights?
Can we get back to you on that?
Okay.
When we have
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Does anyone from the operating agencies have anything to add? Gail, Mike, Vanessa, anyone? Chibu? Greg? Is he still here? Anything you guys want to point out of note regarding diversity initiatives that we didn't cover?
Any specific dates on your celebrations for February, March? Especially Dessert Day. Well, let us know the specific dates as soon as you can because our calendars get filled up very fast.
This Friday, MTA Bus Company at Yonkers Depot, we're celebrating African American Heritage Month, and I'm very happy to say that we have at least 2 speakers, one of whom is a Tuskegee Airman, and a young lady who worked with them as well. She'll be speaking, so I invite you to attend.
Thank you.
Starts at 12 o'clock.
Right here. Now, I'm parting by saying that although that this is my first official board meeting, I truly understand the problems, and we must deal with the impediments that stop qualified MWDBEs from not only being certified, but from being engaged in the process. And that's one thing that I will be looking at: a lack of capital, a lack of bonding. Thank you.
And I want to comment on that was also a topic of discussion in the CPOC meeting today, because it's the bonding issue is a big one for all kinds of firms, including it has its worst ramifications. Don't worry, we do that all the time. It has its worst ramifications for our minority contractors, but it's a problem throughout the agency. Our contracts are just too big. Anything else? Yes.
Just to add to what Joel had asked about the EEO program in Title VI, the July 2009 has the mid-year report on EEO, the Finance Committee report. That's based on June 30th data. So to present that, to have that information available for the July 2009 committee, I think would be a little hard-pressed. because with the holiday schedule, July 4th and everything, our data gathering and stuff would be a little hard-pressed. So if you would take that into consideration with your reporting requirements for EEO program in Title VI, and get back to us with the due date, that'd be appreciated.
I think it would be helpful if you could get to Mr. Garner what you think is a more reasonable date. And I appreciate the fact that you're looking at these work plans, because that's exactly the kind of issue that I expected to come up.
Okay.
So that's good. And what we really need to do is set the schedule so that it meets our required deadlines for all of our filings, but it also allows you enough time to give us good numbers.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay?
One last thing. We received an email from Civil Rights, I guess it was last week, notifying us that the FTA had approved the MTA EEO program for the entire agency, as well as the agencies that receive federal financial assistance, and I think that should be recognized at this meeting.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you for reminding, Joe. I totally went over my head.
Anything else? Motion? Second? And everybody's in favor. I have to apologize that we were so delayed. We're struggling to stay on a schedule because, as you all know, we are dealing with some substantial financial issues, and it's taking us a little longer these days than it has in the past, but we're going to get back on schedule. Promise. Thanks. Good job.